All right. Most of the time, I only do cleanups when something extraordinary has happened, and it really has. I mean, you're talking about 43, 45 artifacts in 2 hunts the last couple days, uh, possibly close to 80 this week. Uh, you just get to know your regions and areas better, and I want to show you a couple things. This is one that was on the film just before this, so we won't take a whole long time with this, and we'll get rid of this real fast. The others you haven't seen yet. And there's a whole lot of others. So let's just do this and show you this cleaned up, which is just great material from Crystal Beach. Great piece. As I mentioned before, favorite style. And I want to answer a couple questions and make a couple encouragements to you who, keep watching the videos on Indian trades and keep checking out this great North American Indian artifact. And many of them that I keep being able to just collect and save, make sure the industrial blenders don't bust them up anymore just as much as I can. I haven't been out there long at all. I'm new as a hunter. It's been 5 years, but I'm still new. I've learned a lot. I've learned a tremendous amount about the sites, conditions and what have you, so that I can go out there and make a credible effort. It's a nice piece, isn't it? And bring it in like you see it happen on Indian Trace. It's just so many variables that are really important to make it happen. All right, today, we'll get back to those. I found these as well. And look at the difference in this pottery, everybody. And as we look at these, which came in yesterday, now granted, I did say 40 plus. I'm not putting up a bunch of the C3s. C4s and what have you, a bunch of the stuff that might have a candidate place in my koi pond or what have you, or giveaway in terms of just great artifacts that I couldn't leave out there that just show the material real well. These full pieces right here, these are candidates for a new home. I know there's so many people out there that can't find. Remember, all the join the hunts, things like this are number one for folks who can't go out anymore. I know a military vet who's been injured, hurt. I think he's lost, if not one leg, both legs. And he can't even go out in the fields with a wheelchair. I mean, you can forget that. So a lot of these things I do with a heart for them. Now check out these pieces and I'll answer this question. In the last 4 videos, I might not have actually spoke. Look at this Guilford missing a tip a little bit. Spoke about politics as much. It's always there though. If I'm pursuing the artifacts of the North American Indian, the political situation is there. It's heavy on my heart. The political situation for the United States of America and for the active role I believe we all need to play. I try to find the artifacts, save the artifacts, document these artifacts of the North American Indian, and remember the great advocates, such as Russell Means, such as Red Cloud, such as the great chiefs, such as Quanah Parker, and how they advocated. Chief Joseph, they were consummate statesmen. And so I think that's what we need to try to do most of all. Look at these great pieces from yesterday. Just good stuff that I figured I would do my best to clean up and show. I wasn't going to, but today worked out decent. And I figured I should just go ahead and do it. So with that said on the political interest stuff, I will encourage you all. This piece of sugar quartz, nice. Bifurcated quartz. My encouragement is this. If you're watching these videos, you hear this, please take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes. I might watch 25 reports a day that are alternative news reports to discern what's going on in the world, to listen to the contrasting reports, to line up everything to find out what is actually really happening in the world, from here to Syria to Russia. Important stuff, including stuff that's going on with the presidential cabinet that we have. Look at these. If there's a favorite, something that speaks to you, just let me know. I'll just gather that up and get it out of here. But that's the way it works. Look at this pottery. And so I would encourage you, as we get as close as we can to this pottery, look at the complete difference and dispensations, which is actually signifying time differences, because it was not made at the same time periods. They weren't using the same soils. You can see that. They weren't using the same methods of imprinting any of this. This actually looks like a maize, small corn cob that was rolled on it. Some of this stuff like this looks like it was actually pressed into a basket and then fired. And the other stuff goes a little bit earlier to late archaic pottery. Pulled this one up coming in today. The political interest featured links I put on there because I winnow it out, and usually, after watching 25 reports a day, I'll have one or two that I'm going to drop onto my political interest folder. And then what I figure is the best or the heaviest on my heart that day. Look at this big Guilford. Now listen. That is today, what is heaviest on my heart, what I think most important for people to hear out there, for their families, for their nation, for their freedom. I put on there as a political interest link. And whether you agree or not, that's the whole point. It's to stir you up to think about things, to move forward, to give you, some information that helps and directs your prayer, because God answers prayer and He's involved. I'm telling you what, if the providence of God wasn't involved in this last election, I don't know what was. Now, granted, we have a president who is working as hard as he can to make America great again, but he will make mistakes. That's for sure. As we all do. But I'm going to tell you what, just as much as there's a heaven to gain, and we'll finish with this today. Look at those. A heaven to gain, and I have a story about this little guy. There's a hell to shun. And pretty much that's how this last presidential election, if you really want to acknowledge the truth, played out. There was a heaven to gain, and there's a hell to shun. And although you might love, look at this point first. Got it off the Falcon before we go. This almost made it into my display box. Actually, in my display box, I don't even really much have one piece that's broken. This piece is an awesome piece. It's going in my Heartbreakers because it just worked out. What I mean by this last presidential election is that if Miss Clinton would have gotten into the office, she would have stolen it. Corruption would have continued to pull its dark cover over the mainstream media. They would have illegally used the Justice Department to shut down alternative news so that you couldn't hear reports, stories about what's happening all over the world. You couldn't hear stories about what is true and what is not. They would have continued to propagandize in a heavy fashion. People don't want to admit that about her, but it's completely true. It was happening in strength throughout the last 8 years. Now, a heaven to gain is not the fact that you get somebody who's just so heavenly and perfect in Trump. It's that you get an opportunity to exercise your freedom. You get an opportunity to send law enforcement to do their job, both on the border. Nice piece, huh? I love this piece. It's going in my Heartbreaker space. You get an opportunity for law enforcement to be free, to go out and do their job, to actually execute law over people who are completely decimating, hurting children. I mean, the pedophilic networks, I've known they existed since I went to school in Oklahoma and graduated from graduate school in '94. I met an individual who got children out of sex rings and pedophilic bondage. And he wrote some stories, and he wrote a case, and he brought a lot of high-ranking officials down. It's sickening. But now, law enforcement has the backup of freedom, of a president who supports that. And there's just on and on and on things in which he strives to do. Look at this little point. Last thing I found today, if I can hold this still enough to see it. Yeah, it'll fit all in that nickel. What I can't understand, I almost lost it twice, is I don't know if it'll focus this close. Look at the serrations on this. Question is, I almost lost it. It was hard enough to clean, let alone produce and make a point such as this. So I'm thankful, and there was providence, because in the last election there was a heaven to gain and a hell to shun. I don't think most people even want to acknowledge how sinister, how corrupt Miss Clinton was, let alone the whole regime behind her, and that has been having a pity party since that day, 60 days ago, 70 days ago? Complete meltdown, tantrum, because they believed they had rigged the whole thing, including news. Look at that. How on earth do you make that? I can barely hold on to it, barely clean it. Mercy, right? And then there is this point. Interesting thing about these bases here and this point is this point came from the same place that point did. So in terms of the political interest stuff, I don't always discuss it here on Indian Trace. I'll just follow my heart. It doesn't matter to me whether it pleases people or not. I am never jumped on channel here to try to find a way to persuade people to subscribe. I don't care. You know, you're going to live your life. You're going to pass this on, share it with somebody because you know there's some stuff that they should think about in life. Look at this point. So as I finish off with these great artifacts here today, just want you guys always to consider the political interest link for sure, because things in this world are struggling. It's not like they still can't go sideways. I promise you that. I promise you that. And of course we don't want them to, but unless we're diligent to do our part, then, you know, if it's in the power of good men to do something and they don't do anything to stop evil, whether it's MS-13 coming across the border in Mexico or illegal aliens. Look at this pottery. And we're talking about criminal. And we're talking about illegal. We're not talking about great immigrants such as you and me. We're talking about sinister, evil people in which good people need to start standing up and saying, no, we're not going to have it. That's for sure, we're not going to have it. So, from Indian Trace to all of you, that's long enough. Really appreciate you tuning in. I just wanted to do my very best to give you a good look at all this stuff. I don't even never know what's going to come up for a profile pic. It just does it randomly, I'm sure. Make sure you check out the political interest links. Spread them, share them. Your children are worth it. Your loved ones are worth it. Even though this nation and this world, we're going to see some hard times. I'm going to promise you that. If anybody can't even, you know, look at that piece. You can discern that. You can sort of sense it all. But, you know, it's better when you try to do good. From Indian Trace to all you out there, I hope you do. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you find. We'll see you.